Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's Connected Systems Institute lecture series. My name is Charles Mosley, and I'll be your host for today's lecture. Uh, Research for Pipelines and Closed Loop Systems, What's Relevant? Presented here today by Dr. Marcia Silva. Before we go to Dr. Silva, a word from our Executive Director, Mary Bunzel.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining today for this very, very important topic. And it's one that's near and dear to my heart because almost every manufacturing facility is involved with water or water delivery in some form or fashion. And even if it's not water moving through those pipes, some of the research that our Freshwater Institute, under the direction of Dr. Silva, has been involved in. And that's why we wanted to bring these topics forward for you today. So I'm delighted that Dr. Silva has agreed to present this very important story for us today. So thank you, Marcia. Please take it away, Charles.
Dr. Marcia R. Silva has more than 20 years of industrial and academic experience, has authored several journal papers and book chapters, and has presented her work at national and international conferences. Dr. Silva currently holds an associate scientist position and director at the UWM Water Technology Accelerator. Dr. Silva also holds an adjunct professor position with UWM School of Freshwater Sciences and UWM College of Engineering and Applied Sciences, Material Science and Engineering, Industrial and Manufacturing Engineering, and Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences. Since 2013, Dr. Silva took on the huge task of creating the water research facility associated with the rise of the Global Water Center in Milwaukee. She has been instrumental in the success of the research arm for the Global Water Council and have impacted the research reputations of UWM School of Freshwater Sciences and College of Engineering and Applied Science. Before we begin, some housekeeping. Please keep your mics muted, enter questions in the chat box, and we'll ask Dr. Silva those at the end of her presentation. Dr. Silva, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's always so exciting for me to be talking about our research work. It's been talking about creating or developing or enabling a more sustainable future. So it's so exciting. And while we go through this process, we also educate students, we form talents. So it is exciting for so many reasons. So I will be sharing with you today the topic of building the future through water tech. Usually what does happen when I give this talk, I have given this talk in so many different places and countries. What does happen is I look at my audience and I connect to them. So it's going to be a different experience. So there's no eyes to be seen. So I don't really know how my audience is reacting, or usually when I look at my audience, I know when I'm touch basing something, I know they are interested in one topic more than another one, and I can explore more. So I was told that you can ask questions via text, so please do so, and that can help me to answer more questions at the end, redirect things. So let's see. I was also told that my audience is very diverse. So I don't know if I'm talking to people who know the Global Water Center or don't. So let's just understand a little bit of the background. So the Water Technology Accelerator is a center that belongs to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. It has been launched in 2013, and it's housed at the Global Water Center. So the Global Water Center is located just 4 minutes from the School of Freshwater Sciences, which is our harbor center, and it's located just a few minutes from our College of Engineering, so 10-15 minutes from there. So it's very easy to move around. It's a very dynamic environment. We have two universities. So Water Technology Accelerator, so UWM, occupies the entire 7th floor. Marquette University occupies most of the 6th floor. And then we have all sorts of startups. We have the Water Council on the 5th floor. So it's this entity connecting all the water related business. We have offices of large water industries, so A.O. Smith, Badger Meters, Rexnord. So it's a very, very dynamic environment, and I'm so proud to be there since from the very beginning, when not only our center was launched in 2013, but also the building, the entire building was launched in 2013. So we are, depending on the audience, depending on the country where I am presenting, I have to explain where we are located. So in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we have all sorts of over 200 water industries in the Great Milwaukee. So it's a very water-related place, and we have Lake Michigan in our backyard, and we almost take it for granted. So we have, wait, just hold on a second, right there. So the Water Technology Accelerator is part of a water hub. So Milwaukee does have a water hub, Milwaukee's water cluster. And that's not only one in the country, right? So the USA has multiple water hubs. Milwaukee is definitely one of the most prominent ones, I would say that way. There's a data science institute that wrote about the most impacting water hubs in the country, and Milwaukee was selected to be featured. So definitely we are led by the Water Council. And I had the honor to be visiting other water hubs throughout the world, and I think I will have some opportunity to talk about that. So right there. So in 2014, so you have to think about historically, right? So we were launched in September 2013. In 2014, when the EPA administrator was visiting the Global Water Center, she had a very good impression of what we were doing, and we were just starting. We as a team, right? We as a community. So we have all this abundance of water. We have the School of Freshwater Sciences, which is the only school in the nation fully dedicated to the study of freshwater. 1.2 billion gallons of groundwater, and all sorts of water industry expertise, but what industry in different in other fields as well. Why is this? Right. So right across the Global Water Center, we have the Reed Street Yards. So it's a global water technology park. The picture I have there is dated. So actually, we have two companies there. The Zorn, which is a branch of Rexnord, and we have Watertronics that has a water feature in this technology park. The idea is that eventually more companies will come, get established, display their water technologies, and it just increase interaction within the water hub. In 2018, yes, I was at the European Water Tech in Leeuwarden in the Netherlands, and a very important step was taken where 6 water hubs across the world, including Milwaukee, they signed an agreement to seeking to establish a boundaryless relationship where companies, startups could have access to opportunities and accelerate water technologies to the market. So that was back in 2018, in fall of that year. So now we can already see the effects and the results of that agreement. In the same event, I was invited to give a talk. So why is this? So I was invited to give a talk, and it'd be part of a group of people who were managing or water technology accelerators across the world. So it's Rio, we had also the Netherlands, of course, the Singapore, which is a very important water hub, Cleveland Water Alliance, and myself. So that was special to me because running a water technology accelerator is very challenging. And another thing that I realized at that time is they are not the same. They are highly influenced by their environment, and you have to navigate through this very dynamic environment depending on what you have available in your community. So it was a very great interaction. So the water technology is a $483 billion global market, and Southeast Wisconsin owns 5% of it. I think this is extremely important just by itself, and to understand the mission that we have. We have at the Global Weather Center, so in our Water Technology Accelerator, we have very specialized equipment to support efforts on development of water technologies. This is extremely powerful, not only to UWM, not only to the Global Water Center. This is very powerful to Wisconsin to position itself as the leader in nanofabrication. So we have in our WaTA, so the Water Technology Accelerator, on the 7th floor of that building, we have a clean room. So that's where it's a ISO Class 6. We can focus on sensor manufacture. We have a microscope room, and we can focus on disinfection technologies. And we have a general material sciences lab with all sorts of equipment for characterization and advancement of these technologies. That is only one part of what we have available on that floor. And University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee has so many other shared laboratories that researchers have access to. So we have advanced analytical facility in the College of Engineering. We have the Genomics Center in the School of Earth Sciences. We have SEM in biology. We have a TEM in physics, prototyping facility in the Innovation Campus. And speaking about the Innovation Campus, actually, what we do have there is I just in February, I inherited this nanofabrication and microscopy facility. This is not located at the Global Water Center. This is located in Innovation Campus in the WaTA region. So there we have more powerful resources for nanofabrication. We also have a clean room, but with other types of equipment to support nanofabrication. Mass gas aligner, primer oven. We also have a microscope room, also not a duplicate of what we have at the Water Technology Accelerators. They are different type of equipment with some similarities sometimes with, but they can be used with different purposes. We have a micro CT scanner. This is mostly used for the 3D imaging techniques, and we can see objects slice by slice. So this, of course, I like to think about that equipment for materials application, but of course it can be used for biological and medical purposes as well. We have researchers working in a variety of fields, of course, sensors. We have researchers working on aquatic health, microcontaminant, material sciences. We are very strong in material sciences, in nanomaterials, coatings, computational fluid dynamics, and aeration. Some of our researchers on the 7th floor, I'm going to talk a little bit about each of them. They have Professor Rio Amano, so he's a professor from mechanical engineering, the school in the College of Engineering, and his focus, he does all sorts of research across campus, but the part of the research he focuses on our floor is wastewater aeration and the renewable energy technologies. Professor Selowitz is focused on development of mechanical sensors. Professor Lu, he is an assistant professor in material sciences, and he runs a very powerful lab, very diverse in water energy nexus. Professor In Wan, is a professor in the Department of Civil Engineering. He works with filtration materials, wastewater treatment, resource recovery. And he does beautiful work in interfacial chemistry as well. Professor Xiaolima, he's a new professor in the also Department of Materials Engineering. He does beautiful work in membranes and also nano composites. Professor Rudy Strickler from Biology Sciences. He has an interesting story in that building. So of course he has his lab for many years as a full professor. And once he moved into the floor, he was partnering with a startup called Microflot. So once they start chatting and bouncing off ideas, what did happen was actually they started another startup, and it's called Optic Technique. Professor John Shen, he's an adjunct professor. He works for Argonne Laboratory. He also has his own startup called the NanoFX, and that startup was born at UWM and is located in Innovation Campus. Professor Wujing Sheng, he develops electrochemical sensors. He's actively taking his technologies, advancing his technologies in the technology readiness level. And myself, a little bit about myself. My lab is we do so many different types of research, but mostly we focus on filtration materials for removal of pollutants from water, all types of pollutants. We focus on development of sensors, and we'll talk a little bit about each of them. And just before I talk about a little bit at each of them, we have, some highlights in my career. I received the Graduate of the Last Decade Award in 2017 when I started the research arm at the Water Technology Accelerator at the Global Water Center. Just a year after, I received the Water Warrior Award from the Water Council for my leadership, innovation, and dedication to Milwaukee's water industry. I have worked for industry for 11 years in my career, and prior to the 16 that I work for university. I have presented my work in different countries, and my work focuses mostly on the filtration materials and water sensors. This is my group from spring of last year. Some of them are still in the lab. New people have started. Some people graduate, they leave, they are still in touch when they are working on papers, on manuscripts. Most, if not all, of my students are working on manuscripts. So I'm just very proud of my students, just so proud. And because of the diversity of my research, my students, they come from different fields. So I have students, of course, most are in engineering, but I have mechanical engineers, electrical, material sciences. I have students from environmental science, chemistry, microbiology, and the School of Freshwater Sciences. So they are very diverse. Basically, we focus on developing technologies. We have so much fun. It's just so much fun to develop technologies. I mean, it's something that I do from very young age. So for me, it's just so much fun, and I try to pass this to my students. So we develop technologies. We are always looking at the technology readiness level. We use the thermometer that was adapted by Water Equipment and Policy, and actually they base their thermometer in the NASA technology readiness level thermometer, and they adapted for water applications. So basically we have, it's a scale from 1 to 9, where 1, we are just developing or conceiving ideas, and 9 is we are delivering the technology to commercial deployment. There's a project my lab started working back in 2013, which is a handheld, and is an optically based sensor. It is meant to be a low-cost sensor for detection of particles in water. We were very successful for the use of the sensor in clean water spikes with bacteria, and the sensor was successful in that for that application. We are fully aware there's a lot to go, but we are very proud of what we were able to do as well so far. So where we really wanted to go is take this sensor to application in environmental waters. So environmental waters are very complex matrix. So they have higher turbidity, higher conductivity, all sorts of organisms coexisting, not only bacteria, cysts, and other organisms. So it's very complex. We have the knowledge to take it over. The reality is we really need funds. So we keep, as the years go by, we attract funds from different sources. We in this process, we train students. They help us to take this, move this a little bit forward. Just recently, meaning yesterday, just yesterday, we had this, a manuscript on this topic was actually accepted for publication on Sensing and Imaging. It's a journal. We have major revisions to do, but I'm very excited we will be able to be publishing the details of this technology very soon. So basically, how it works, yes, you are seeing this, right? So what you are seeing is this image with all sorts of things there. So we use holography. So we take these images in multiple slices, and we combine them. So it's a 2D information, but because they are taken in multiple slices, we have a 3D image. So we acquire these raw images. We filter them for size and shape of bacteria, and then we are able to quantify them. So that's how in very simple words, how the technology works. Just recently, I am a water scientist, and that's what I keep thinking about it and developing technologies. But just recently, due to the COVID pandemic, we had our university came to us and asked, okay, can you do something about it? Can you adapt your sensors to detection of the virus in not in water, but in something else, right? So in our case, we focus on adapting this technology. We adapt, but we had to transform it because as is, it would not work for a body fluid. So we had to transform, and we had to adapt and convert it to a sensor, or propose it to be a sensor for detection of the virus SARS-CoV-2 in transparent body fluid, so saliva or lung wash. So we are working on proposals. So that part we cannot release more details of the technology. We have just not patented, but filed invention disclosure, And eventually, when we have the funding, we can actually test and validate this novel technology. So we had another exciting project that I have in my lab is a sensor for detection of biofilm in pipes. So let's understand a little more about that. I like the way that how we started. I don't know, I'm not sure why this keeps jumping. It's odd. So, but it's okay. We'll go through this. So some people know what biofilm is, some don't. So let's see if we can relate to that. So if we have a group of bacteria and they will tend to attach to a surface, and they have this sticky material that keep them together. So the APS matrix. They have what they need. They have they coexist and they form this biofilm, and they start growing. Once they start growing, sometimes they will release just a small amount of this biofilm back to the environment, but most of them will be attached to the surface. So what does that mean? Well, I don't think we want them in most cases. Sometimes we do, but in most cases we don't. So in hospitals, for example, we don't want biofilm formation on surfaces or inside of the catheters or anywhere that any surface that can be in touch with our body. So that is a concern. We also don't want in drinking water industry, this biofilm starts growing inside of pipes. They can reduce the diameter of the pipes. There's a lot of cost associated with that and health concerns because these pipes may be carrying drinking water to our house, right? So we don't want that. And in other situations, we have, I think I jumped one in food industry. Actually, for many years, one of my first jobs was actually in food industry. So I have a passion for technologies associated with food industry because it goes back to my early stage of my career. So there, when you work with dairy products or bread or all sorts of food, there is just the perfect environment for biofilm to grow. So they have the food, they have the temperature, they have the humidity, they have everything they need to grow beautifully, and we don't want them there, right? So the idea is, can we measure biofilms? Of course we can. This goes back to a long time. We have microscopy tools, we have fluorescence in situ hybridization. The problem with these tools is that you need to collect the sample of biofilm, you need to take it back to the lab, perform utilize very specialized equipment, perform long process to actually obtain the information you want, which is how much of biofilm do we have there? What type of organisms are there? Sometimes you are interested. Sometimes you just want to know if you have biofilm. And sometimes you want to know who is there, what type of organisms are there. So my lab has developed a technology that can actually inform within minutes if we have biofilm and what is the thickness of this biofilm. But the beauty of this technology is you don't need to collect a sample and take it to your lab. In fact, you don't even need to have access to the inside part of the pipe. All you need is to place this device outside of the pipe and get the information that you need. So you just move the device in different parts of the pipe and you get that information. So we have started a patent application. We are also, we have the okay to publish the paper on this topic. My graduate student is He worked on one manuscript, which is under review by IEEE censors, and he's working on another one. So I will not release information until we actually get this published, which I hope to be soon, because this is under review since January. And we have a few other technologies in my lab. It's a filtration material for removal of persistent organic pollutants. This is part of the PhD work of my former student. She graduated in 2018. We started patent application process with UWM Research Foundation. We had our first publication of a very, very early stage of this work. Back to 2013 or 14, we had this published at the RC Advanced in January 2020. And the work that releases or displays the information in more, or the technology more details, is actually submitted to another RC journal. So that should be coming soon. And so the idea is that this filtration material will target persistent organic pollutants and will secure them in the media, selectively in the media. We test this technology initially with model compounds, and then we tested with actually persistent organic pollutants, PCBs, PFOA, and BPA. Other technology I have in my lab is a filtration material for removal of heavy metals. This is part of the PhD work of my former student. And we are also now, he has one paper accepted at Water Supply, and he has 2 more under review in environmental sciences and technology. We also initiated patent application for this technology. We focused on lead and mercury. And this technology is probably in TRL 3 to 4, so there's a lot to go for us to take it closer to the market. Another project that I have in my lab is with a technology for removal of phosphorus from stormwater. So basically, what we have here is, why is this? Sorry, guys. Odd. So we have, it's just jumping just randomly, so I'm sorry about that. All right, so basically, we care about phosphorus in water, and the reason is, of course, phosphorus is a nutrient, so we need it, but we need it the right ratio with other nutrients. So when they are in excess, that's when we have eutrophication of the lakes. Another important thing is that this is a resource, so it is important. It's important to recover, to recycle, and reuse. So the idea of this technology we developed we started in 2013, and we licensed this technology in 2018, I believe, and then we licensed the technology in June 2019 to a company back in Australia. And we are now in the process of assisting this company on scalability. So there are multiple technologies out there that can remove phosphorus, but they all have challenges. And what we developed, that's odd. I cannot even go back now. I cannot even go back to the slide that I want. Okay, so what happened is we developed this filtration material. We placed them. That's odd. It just doesn't stop where I want. That's so odd. It just doesn't stop.
Hey, Marcia, I will see if I can share the slide deck on my desktop, and then
okay.
but do what you can right now.
Okay, so we have other problems in phosphate removal, right? So there are technologies that do chemical treatment, biological treatment, and there are even zeolites that can be used for that. So the beauty of our technology is also zeolite based, but is engineered, so it's specialized for removal of phosphate from water. And the idea is to use the concept of circular economy. So the idea is to prepare this naturally based material, engineer it, focus on phosphorus from stormwater. And the idea is to place it in the farm and then bring it back and recycle not only the nutrient, but also the absorbent. So we came up with this idea where basically we deployed this technology in last year in a farm in Wisconsin, in Port Washington. So it's a tile-based drainage. We connected our technology to the pipe. The water goes through the filtration system before being discharged in the environment. So the idea is not to remove 100%, is to reduce the load of phosphorus going to the environment. So the effect of contact time, this was a lab-based work. So from here, we can see that in 15 minutes, we would have almost 100% removal. So actually, in just a minute, we expect 40% removal. And actually, that's what was observed in the field. So I'm very pleased about that. So other technologies we had is, or other type of work, my lab does work with many technologies. And to work with technologies, we have to understand the environment. We have to understand it first. Then we can develop the technologies. And because I am an environmental engineer, while I am understanding the environment, we actually publish on that. So we did this work in the Lower Green Bay in Wisconsin, in collaboration with the School of Other Sciences researcher. And we were able to collect sediments from the bottom of the lake. And my lab is developing a technology for removal of these PCBs and mercury from the sediments, not from the water. But I had to characterize the concentration of mercury and PCBs in sediments. So we submit this work to review, to a peer-reviewed journal. And it is currently under review. So we characterize the environment. So this is first step. And then the next step is explore the use of the technology to remove these compounds from sediments. So another type of work that I have done in the past is understanding the fate and transport of bacteria in Milwaukee coastal area. I characterized the environment, not only in water, but in sand. At some point, we had a situation of a formation of standing water at Bradford Beach, and I studied the impact of the hydrological and geophysical factors that were favoring formation of standing water. And the environment is a very complex situation where many parameters occur at the same time. So at some point, what I had to do is simulate these effects in the laboratory, isolate parameters, understand the effect of each of them, and then so understanding in small scale which parameters were playing a role on or association of bacteria to particles. And then I brought this understanding back to the large scale, and through a statistical model and time series, I was able to understand or propose explanation for what we were observing at large scale. Other exciting types of projects that I have in my lab is one that is just starting, is Professor Jun Zhang from Electrical Engineering, is the PI. The idea is the innovative AI and machine learning techniques for time to failure prediction for utility meters. We will be partnering, working closely with We Energies. This has just starting, so we are still handling scheduling meetings to talk to the mentors and so on, but I'm very excited about that. Another project that started in January is on health goals of PFAS and understanding their concentration and presence in biosolids and the implications on their end-of-life disposal approaches. So meaning we want to know the presence, the concentration of PFAS in biosolids. There are different types of soils. We wanted to understand how they migrate through the soil, how they migrate or they leach out of the biosolids, what happens to them when they are land applied, and what happens to them if they are incinerated, and what happens to them post-incineration. We have just published the first part of this work at the Science of the Total Environment. It's in press, so it was just released on May 4th, and we are very excited. This is part of the work of my master's student with Dr. Clapper from School of Soil Science, Katie Schultz, and she's doing a fantastic work on PFAS. So that's a lot, right? And I didn't tell you all the technologies we are working on. I actually told you talked about the ones that are more active in the lab. So I'm so ready for questions, and I appreciate so much your time and for sharing this exciting moment of all these projects and all this excitement and all the success of my students that I'm so proud of. So I'm ready for questions. Thank you so much.
Sure thing, Dr. Silva. So you know that Wisconsin is very heavy in the manufacturing. In fact, it's the largest driver of our economy here. How would some of the research that's happening at the Water Technology Accelerator and the School of Freshwater Sciences, what research there can positively affect manufacturing in Wisconsin?
Well, I think all of them are the number one. I would say definitely sensors. There are many sensors that are already used in the in industry. What we are trying to develop are the sensors of the next generation of sensors, where we can have information about nutrients. We can have information about heavy metals or PFAS in water. So those are the sensors you are not going to find on the bench yet. So they are at laboratory scale. We as a team, so in the beginning of this presentation, I talked a little bit about the work of my colleagues. So we as a team, we are trying to figure out, okay, how we advance technologies from TRL1 to TRL7, right? How does that happen? And it's a lot of effort. There's a lot of effort at the university scale. And then at some point, there must have interaction with industry so we can have this scalability at the shortest time possible, which is already too long. So I think what must happen is collaboration, is integration, is looking for ways of, another thing that has to be fine-tuned is the language. So the researchers is in the lab and developing the technology. The industry is out there and they need the technology. There's a need for synergy where the team comes together and share knowledge, where you bring the experience from industry, the researcher brings the knowledge from fundamental sciences, and together you accelerate the movement through the TRLs. I worked in both sides, industry and academia, so I understand what the needs are from the other side, what the challenges are, and the difficulty when you are industry and you wanted to partner with university, and often there is a disconnection in priorities. So really sitting down and understanding what the needs are, and really working together. Communication, it always comes down to communication, people talking and understanding each other. And I think the willingness to partner is clear. What has to happen is integration and communication so we can move this forward.
Okay. All right. So one word you used was synergy. The Connected Systems Institute was created in late 2017, and We've been developing a new lab area. We're developing an advanced manufacturing test bed as well as additional test beds and lab space in the area. How do you see the Water Technology Accelerator synergizing with CSI on projects in the future?
Oh, I can't wait. I see what I envision is our researchers developing these sensors and testing these sensors in pilot scale, so the test beds at the CSI before they can actually be tested at a large scale. That and it's not only that, there are things you figure out when you are developing any technology at the laboratory scale. You have the challenges pertinent to that stage. Once you deal with the scalability, you face challenges that it's hard to predict when you are at the very at the laboratory scale. So you have to take to the intermediate scale, and those are the test beds at the CSI. Understand what the challenges are with the real processes, fine-tune the technologies, and there's nothing easy on that step, but it becomes easier when partnering with the right people and then taking it to the market.
Okay. We do have a question from Q&A here. How can the engineering industry engage with your research, in particular PFAS?
Well, we are so open for that. We so open. So I would say the very first step is the simplest possible. Just send me an email, and I have my email right here on the first slide. Just send me an email. Let me know what you are looking for, and we will very quickly schedule this meeting with your team and my team. So Dr. Clapper from School of Fresh Water Science, she's a toxicologist. My role is the technology itself, and we have a fantastic graduate student working on this project. So we are so ready. You can start that simple. Send me that email and we'll get started today.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Dr. Silva, and all our guests for your great questions and active participation. We'll be posting the recording from today's session on the CSI website events page. You can access it there shortly. In the meantime, I'll invite you to tune in on Thursday, May 14th, when we'll hear from Brendella Wenzel of Eli Lilly. Most organizations have equipment they are trying to retrofit with digital technology in order to take advantage of the great opportunity for insight that the industrial IoT offers. But in the quest to achieve data-informed nirvana, don't introduce another failure while trying to mitigate another. In this lecture, you'll learn how to choose the right sensor for the job based on the right balance of cost, complexity, and sustainability. Navigating nuances of level 4 implementation of IoT, an hour-long webinar brought to you by the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Connected Systems Institute. Please register for this event at uwm.edu/CSI/events. Dr. Silva, thank you so much for your time and your information today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, thanks everyone. This is Charles Mosley, your host, signing off. Take care. Perfect.